there is a lot of real value to AI,
Yep.
and realistically, there's a ton of fluff out there around AI.
Hmm.
How, when making these decisions as to which companies you invest in any form, shape, or way, how how does the team at Databricks evaluate that decision making where A, you can invest in a company that perhaps has a heavy usage about AI and would really drive consumption for Databricks, but perhaps the technology in itself or the problem that they're trying to address is not really a problem and therefore subject to a hype cycle, versus you have companies that perhaps are less intensive consumers of compute and tokens and whatnot, but have a long-term viability, perhaps beyond a bubble, like they are proven to solve real business problems.
I think for us, we always focus on durability. And durability comes in a few different shapes and sizes. It's durability of the founders, like of the companies that we're investing in, like have they seemed good? Are they top talent? Like it's in many cases the same way that we ourselves at Databricks think about talent and hiring. Like we believe that we're building a generational company, and we want to work with founders that they themselves feel that they are building capability that is going to be differentiated in the market, solving for hard problems. So we tend not to look at the flash in the pan. Like I mean, from our CEO on down, we tend to take a little bit of a long view on everything that we're doing. So like a short-term bump in consumption is not going to be meaningful for us if it's not centered in solving for a customer problem. So we always kind of go back to first principles when we talk to a lot of these companies around like, is this something, if we're getting approached with something that might be, more of a flash in the pan idea, how do we not focus there and we focus on what are those like durable continuing issues that we continue to see in the enterprise? Securing data is one of those. Observability and kind of getting value around what is happening in your systems and all of the kind of consequences of what's happening, like that's a continuing problem. Activating customer data across multiple siloed platforms, that's a continual problem. Cost around understanding your product analytics, like that is a continual problem. So really, like we want to be centered around like what are the hard things that enterprises are going to need to solve a year from now, regardless of like what hype cycle we're in, and how do we then align like our investments, our ecosystem accordingly. Again, like I know I just gave like a long answer, but like if I could net it out
So
in like
it's
one
good.
line, it's like start with the customer first, and the rest comes with.
Do you find, given how fast technology is changing today, do you find that most founders that are building their products, do you think most of them that come to you tend to have the messaging right? Or do you find that there's still a lot of like a lot of still uncertainty as to how you message, how you do the messaging around AI if you're an ISV quite literally selling yourself to investment partners?
That's a great question, and I think some of it is often determined by what stage of a company you are. Like I for our Databricks AI Accelerator program, since our focus is around pre-seed and seed companies, I mean, I've talked to companies within the same week that have pivoted their strategy within the same week. It's the nature of beast. If you're looking at pre-seed investing, they're still looking for product market fit. They're still building a team. They're still, in many cases, pre-revenue. So they're trying to find their way. But like what we find is the companies that are like most focused on like solving for one problem, like going super deep and mastering that problem, getting it right and having a technical solution for that problem, and then finding a wider aperture like once they hit the market and once they move to seed or move to series A, like that's a very typical pattern that we see. So I work with a lot of founders where like we'll kind of do a lot of coaching with them, because either they're building things that are in market in crowded markets, or they're building out capability that either we've already built or is on our roadmap. Like we want to be really good partners. So we want to make sure that, for the partners we're working with, that the problem space that they're going after is wide enough for them to solve and them to invest in, and giving them coaching so that, they're not either wasting their time or replicating solutions that either we have in market or that we already have in market vis-a-vis other ecosystem partners. So differentiation and making sure that you have that nailed down out of the gate is super key, and something that we spend a lot of time focused on with the companies that we work with.
So not necessarily don't go for boiling the ocean, but go find one thing that you can be very, very good at and build from that point forward. If you're trying to attract that, trying to attract those investments, those opportunities with partnerships, etc.
Yeah, I mean, if you like, if you look at ourselves at Databricks, I mean, we kind of were born as the Spark company. We were solving a hard problem around distributed compute, and that's where we started. When I got here in 2019, and we were still widely the Spark company. But if you look at where we are now, we started one place. I mean, we're an end-to-end data platform now. We have enterprise data warehousing capability. We now have OLTP capability. We have a tremendous ecosystem that we've built. But it all started with solving one hard problem. And then what are the other problems that our customers need to solve as part of that? So like I talk to, whether it's around like, scaling your product, whether it's around scaling your go-to-market. When I talk to founders, I always kind of use the analogy of like, think of this as a raindrop hitting a puddle. You got to start in the center and kind of, you start small, but you move your way out slowly, slowly, slowly. I think the startups that we work with, where we see them taking that approach of like, solve for a problem, make your customers happy, move out from there. Those ones are more successful than the ones where we see like, oh, no, there's a problem over here. Oh, like Gen AI is now a problem that we need to go solve. Oh, we need to go solve this problem. Like in reality, sometimes like, yes, you need to make that pivot based on where the market is. Like that makes total sense. But, in many cases, like you have to be strident about like who you are and who you aren't. And really focusing on like the problem statement that, you're incorporating your business around, and being dogged about, solving that. So
what are the best 3 tips that you would give to founders and folks working on building products right now? Databricks aside, what is the best advice that you would give them?
The best advice I can give founders right now is like focus on differentiation. Focus on differentiation. Focus on differentiation. I can't tell you, like in this world of like Gen AI, like there is literally an application being built to solve every single sliver of every single problem. And in many cases, like I continually see overlap of like, this startup is solving for this problem over here, and it's the same kind of problem. Like I think that I often see like founders that haven't maybe necessarily done all of their homework and really focused on like that core differentiator of why they're different in the market, why anyone would switch, what is it that the problem that they're really solving for. So I think in a crowded market, like the best way to stand out, of course, like this sounds kind of dumb, like do something different. And we're just seeing in this market like a lot of companies that are kind of going after the same problem, or think that they have a novel way of solving the same problem, but it's just really like the same as 5 to 10 other companies that are also in market.
Well, and I sometimes advise ISVs, and that's sometimes what I've seen. It's like, oh, but we can do this, and with some prospects that I've met, it's like, well, but we can just do it better than the other guys can. And I'm like, yeah, if I get on a call with those other guys, they'll tell me the exact same thing that you're saying.
Yeah. Like I often, the other thing I often tell founders as well, like there is no silver bullet to your success. Like I think in a lot of cases, I mean, I've been here for a while. I was at Salesforce previously. I think founders are always looking for the easy button. And of course, like founding a company is insanely hard. It's a lot of work. You wake up every day being like, is this thing going to sink or swim? However, like I think in many cases, we see founders that are like, hey, if I just become an ecosystem partner, like you will sell my product, right? Well, the reality is no. I mean, you are never going to know your product better than you are. Like a partner is never going to be able to talk to the problem set that you're solving better than you can. So I always tell founders like the best way to get traction with larger companies is come with like reference customers that are going to make it easy and relevant for the partner that you're working with to help co-sell you. If you are basically taking your product and saying like, hey, cloud vendor, go sell this for us, like they're selling their own product. Now, like if you're, so it comes back to like, and this again comes back to differentiation. Like if the problem that you're solving for and your approach is truly differentiated, you should get the attention of the market. If the problem that you're solving for is really hard enough that people are going to lean in, take your call, and sign a contract with you. So I find like the best way to like get started, get traction, with kind of larger players in the market like us is, when you're engaging around a partnership conversation, come with like, what are your customers hearing about working with that platform? Like I always like to tell, early stage ISVs that want to work with us, like, come to us when you have like 2 or 3 like design partners or joint references, because inevitably when we pitch you to new customers, the first question they're going to ask is, this sounds amazing, but where has this company done it before? And that's part of it is like no one really wants to be a guinea pig, but the other part of it is like they want confidence that like this is road tested and like battle tested and is production ready. So the more you can do to give that end customer confidence by kind of getting creative about getting those early design wins, like that is absolute critical to getting traction. And the best partnerships that we work with generally are ones where we already have some sort of like joint, our customers are basically an arm's length from each other, and they're using both of our platforms, and we use, we kind of leverage working with that customer to get a great integration in place so that we rinse repeat with more customers. That's where we see, early stage ISVs be successful. But if the approach is like, oh, I'll just, work with this big company and, they'll go solve all these problems for us, like that hardly if ever works.